Deadly Tarantula Girl here in my private studio. And I have a very special guest for this live today. Let's see. Oh, we've got some music in the background. So I don't know how many of you saw. I've started a series, and there's been two videos so far. So in one, I was able to actually capture a fairy just like you would think of a little tiny flying creature. And it was really amazing. And I was able to capture it and bring it inside. And then the little booger got away from me. And so then we did one follow up video. And so I thought it would be a whole lot of fun. I actually found a cryptozoologist who's actually a fairy expert. And in addition to that, he's actually a news anchor here in Texas. What do you think of that? For Fox News. So his name is Billy Bob, and I think he's an amazing man. And so let's just bring him on. Billy
How
Bob, how are you?
how are you doing over there?
I'm doing great. Where do you hail from, sir?
I actually hail from the Appalachian Mountains over in West Virginia.
That is a shocker. So, I have to ask you. I thought that you were a news anchor with Fox News, and I expected you to be in a suit and tie in a studio today.
Yeah, well, I mean, normally I do the news anchoring for No Fox News over there in Texas, but due to the pandemic that's going on, I got deported back over here into the Appalachian Mountains. They didn't want me nowhere near them. I don't know why, but you know.
Interesting. Very interesting. So, you are actually a licensed cryptozoologist, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. I actually got my diploma in cryptozoology, and I did get a license for it. That's correct. That is
That
correct.
is so. Tell me what's involved in those types of studies.
So cryptozoology is it's basically the study of creatures whose existence is disputed or unsubstantiated. However, while the existence, of animals like the Loch Ness monster or the Yeti or Bigfoot or even fairies has not actually been proven, neither has it been categorically disproven. So, with cryptozoology, we're studying the backstory about all of these stunning, amazing creatures.
Very interesting. So, what can you tell us about the specific species that I actually believed that I captured?
So the mediocre Magus minima is a very small fairy. Um, they're nearly invisible. They're
Mm-hmm.
really quick little buggers as well. So you have to be really careful. Now they are quite a friendly species compared to some others that we have here in the Appalachian Mountains. They can be a little bit more feisty. But yeah, they're definitely cute little fairies, and they have some amazing little talents as well, little hidden talents that you have to really see it to believe it.
Well, let's hear about that. Can you tell us about any of them?
It's top secret, ma'am.
Oh, I see.
That is top secret.
I've got you. So tell us about the species that lives in the area that you come from.
Well, at the moment they're non-described, so they don't have any name. I mean, there's only a handful of people that have really seen these species. So for now, we'll call them the Billy Bob fairies.
Okay.
So the Billy Bob fairies, now they're a lot more evil than the Major. Now, they have two heads, big green glowing eyes. It's amazing. When you see them in the dark, you can just see lots of little green eyes all over the place. It's stunning, stunning. But if you get too close, it can be a painful experience. Now, they have 4 rows of razor-sharp teeth. They swarm in groups of 50, so they're never alone. 50 in a group. And that's just one group. There are plenty of groups out here. They breed like rabbits.
Oh.
Now, there is only one queen in this species. So they're similar to like your ants. There's only one queen and the rest are little male fairies with big beards. Big beards.
So, counter to their names, they're actually a heterosexual animal then. There's male and female of the species.
There is just one female in each group.
Interesting. Very interesting. So, how did you get started in the fairy finding field?
Well, I'm not sure if you know the backstory, but I have a couple of animals here at my home, and we have a pig named Errol. I'm sure you may have heard of the pig. Errol the pig is probably the world's most famous pig, to be honest. And one morning I woke up, I went out to look at Errol, and I noticed these big bites. They look like scabs, blotches, all down the side of Errol's back and on his neck. I was thinking to myself, I was like, now what could have done this to my poor pig Errol? So I went hunting. I got my damn near here trusty crossbow. And I went hunting out for some fairies. I found them. I captured them in a jar. And that's how I came across the fairies from the first place. And I've actually got a picture here of Errol the pig of some of those bites, just so you can see what it looks like when you get caught by some of these despicable little creatures. And here's Errol.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, now I mentioned before about some of the little talents that they have and their little powers. Now, the day after I found Errol like this, Errol grew his own little fairy wings. Now, here is Errol 2 days later.
Wow, he's adorable.
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
Very interesting. So would you say that these would be classified as like a supernatural type of animal?
I would say so. They're definitely not normal.
Very interesting. So tell me about some of the other adventures you've had as a cryptozoologist.
Well, we've had lots of sightings up here. There are plenty of strange things that are around in the Appalachian Mountains. Plenty of things. I mean, people look at me and sometimes I get some weird looks, and I'm like, "What are you looking at?" And it's not normal. You know what I'm saying? Now, the one day we actually thought we found Bigfoot. It turned out that it wasn't Bigfoot. It's his little sister, Littlefoot. But we experienced Littlefoot.
Okay.
The search for Bigfoot continues.
Okay. However, his sister Littlefoot has been found. That is not one that I knew. So, wow.
I'm currently writing some taxonomical papers on Littlefoot, and we're actually going to send them over to the museums to be accepted as a actual species. So, good news.
So, how big is Littlefoot?
She's probably about 9'4".
And are they as hairy as
she's definitely hairy, but it's in patches, so it's not one big hairy monster like Bigfoot is described to be. She's just got patches over her body. The armpit region is definitely the longest. It sort of looks like cousin it's depriving from them, but I
Very
don't have any
interesting.
pictures that I can show of Littlefoot until she is described, you see. So,
Okay, I've got you. I've got you. Very interesting. Well, I don't even know what else to say. Do you have any tips for me to be able to capture any more fairies that originate in my area?
yeah, so I'd say one thing, I'd always keep yourself a little dagger. Now, there's no point having any big type of knife because they're tiny little buggers. So you need a knife really the size of a thumbnail, and you just have to pinch it in your little fingers like this and get ready to give it a little poke of self-defense, but only a self-defense. We don't like hurting animals. Um, get yourself a metal detector. Now, their blood actually contains metal. Now, if you use your metal detector, you will be able to locate those fairies easier than normal. So it's
That's
good.
a good one. That's a very good one. So I've read one. I've come across a forum that is looking to give fairies human rights because they say that they're more than an animal; they're a human. Do you consider them to be humanoid or animal?
Now, I'd probably say that they are humanoid, especially the mediocre Magus minima species that you have
Mm-hmm.
down there in Texas. Um, the fairies that we have up here in the Appalachian Mountains, I wouldn't call them humans just because they're evil. They can do
Mm.
some serious damage, as you saw of Errol, the pig. But yeah, for the Magus minima, I would definitely consider them as tiny little humans.
Very interesting. Wow. Do you have any more stories to tell us about battling these creatures in your area or anywhere in the world?
Um, I don't know. I mean, all of the experiences that I've had with them haven't been great. I've only came into contact with the Magus minima a few times myself. Um, to be honest, the that are up here, I just like to get my crop and protect my pigs and my donkey as well. I like to protect my donkey. If my donkey dies, then I lose all electricity. I lose everything. So it's really making sure that my animals and my home safety is safe. Um, it's just sort of I like to go fairy hunting once in a while. But I prefer to find my experiences with like the larger kind, like Bigfoot. I'd love to travel and see if I can find the Loch Ness, get my
Oh
scuba
yeah.
diving outfit out. But as far as yet, I've not managed to do that myself.
Very interesting. Now, do you have any guesses on when this pandemic may end and you might be able to go back to being a full-time news anchor here in Texas?
Um, well, I mean, everything's all over the world. It's going a little bit crazy right now, isn't it? So,
Mm.
I mean, if
Yes.
everybody lives like we do up here in the Appalachian Mountains, it'll end quickly. No problem. No problem. The problems that you do have are heavily populated areas with people going up and coughing on each other. It's no good. It's no good. Maybe
Very interesting. Well,
hopefully be back in the studio. We know in around 3 months time.
yes, sir. Well, I'll be tuning in definitely to see what you're doing on the news. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Billy Bob. I really appreciate I always love having an expert opinion on the show. You are just a very surprising man, and I appreciated your time.
Well, thank you, Marita. It's a pleasure to be here.
And definitely thank Arrow the pig. And so someone was asking in the chat if he still has his wings.
He doesn't. I do have an updated picture of Errol with my wife. She was giving him his bath, and this is Errol the pig now.
It looks like he's put on a few pounds.
Oh,
And your
definitely.
wow, she's a looker.
She's beautiful.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for giving us some of your expertise and even letting us have a little look into your personal life. That was very informative. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure as always.
All right. Well, we are going to end this segment, and we have another guest coming up very soon. And so, thank you so much, Billy Bob. Be safe and stay rural.
God bless America.
All right. Thank you so much for joining. Wow. Well, my goodness. I definitely chatted up in the comment feed what you guys thought about Billy Bob. I am in touch with him now. We are in contact through snail mail because he only has access to the internet a few hours a month. And so this was a very special appearance that he made for us today. So definitely, we're going to have our next guest is Kieran, but I can relay any of Billy Bob's questions to you. And if I'm not mistaken, Kieran has actually been on another show with Billy Bob. So Kieran may be able to field some of the questions that you have for Billy Bob. But while we're waiting for Kieran to get ready, I want to let's go through the chat. Ellie's Bug Babies is on. Don Gallagher, Alternative Inverts, Lorga, Count Jonah Fang. Let's see. Rocky Mountain Spiders. My girl, my boo is on. She's going to be on the show pretty soon. Let's see. Who else is on? Tarantula Arc. Amy from Pet Rock and Roll. Let's see. Stefan. Invert Laws. Mr. Grindlers Creatures. Let's see. Yeah. So, let's see. Secret Forest Creatures UK. Moon Over Miami, Morph Seekers. You guys are awesome. So yeah, definitely let me know in the chat. I want to thank Billy Bob for getting dressed up because we actually did a little test run and he wasn't wearing all that much. And so thank you, Billy Bob, if you're still listening, for go ahead and putting on your little undershirt and at least doing the one strap on the overalls. That was nice of you to go ahead and get all dressed up for the appearance. Let's see. Ben's Pets is on. And wow, we've got a bunch of people. Tarantula Arc, Nikki D, Kieran Stone. Yes, so there were quite a few comments about Mr. Billy Bob. Acid Splash was on. Somebody said they just woke up and didn't know if they had actually woken up or if they were dreaming, which was pretty funny. Stacy, McNally. Let's see. Spiders. Couch Locked came on. Yeah, I hope you guys stay around because Kieran is amazing. So I'm even more excited about the interview with him. AMK Tarantulas. Let's see. Couch Locked. Who else? Looking for any names. Flawless Fangs came on. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, thank you guys for everybody that is on tonight, and definitely stay on for Kieran because he's awesome. So, love that guy. I really kind of got to know all of you guys after we discovered I hope I don't mess it up. Is it Tarantula Tuber Saturday Night Takeaway, I think? And that's when I got introduced to this whole gang and nothing but cool people. So without any further ado, let's say hello to Kieran Brandt. Hopefully he is ready. Give me a thumbs up if Kieran's backstage. All righty. So here's the very handsome and sophisticated Mr. Kieran Brandt. How are you doing today, Kieran?
I'm good, dude. How are you?
I am great. I just had a very interesting guest on, Billy Bob. Do you know that guy?
Yeah, so we've had Billy Bob on our channel once or twice, I think. He asked if he could interview us for some of our Fatal Fangs footage from Fatal Fangs II tournament. So we've had the pleasure of speaking to Billy Bob. Strange one, isn't he?
He is an interesting character, and yeah, I was very impressed. I mean, he is a news anchor with Fox News, and he certainly is an interesting fellow.
He's a little bit strange, but yeah, he definitely knows his stuff. Bless him. He's quite qualified in a lot of different areas, isn't he? So fair play to the dude.
Very interesting. Well, welcome to the show. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
to see you. You know what? I dream of the day that we all get to hang out in person.
Yeah, it'd be awesome, wouldn't it? It'd be great, especially like a
Yeah.
show or something, and
Oh
have a
yeah.
spiders and stuff.
So, tell me, I have never even been to the UK. My dream is to go to the BTS and obviously hang out with all of you guys. So tell me what it's like going to a BTS show.
Oh, it's mental. It's really, really good. There's just hundreds of people. Um, like you get there first thing. I think we were like fourth in the queue for the last year, and we'd got there about 3 hours early. And the queue, it goes for ages. Like, and there's so many cool people. Everyone's really friendly. All of like the sellers that are there and the breeders, everybody's got time for each other, and they just have a good conversation and just hang out and stuff. So it is cool, yeah. And there's lots of awesome different spiders and like centipedes and stuff like that. Like, so it's really cool to go to.
That's awesome. So, what year did you get into the invert hobby, or how long has it been?
Um, I started through reptiles, so I'd been
Mm.
keeping reptiles for probably about 10 years. And I had like multiple different snakes, lizards, and stuff like that. It was actually I'd liked tarantulas, but I'd never kept any. Then my wife got the first tarantula, and we had a Acanthoscuria geniculata, and I think that might have
Mm.
been maybe around 3 years ago, maybe a little bit more. And then from there, as soon as she bought the first spider, I was just fascinated. I started doing a lot of research, watching videos. Was watching your channel. I used to watch your channel for the reptiles and stuff as well.
Awesome.
So yeah, it started from there, and then just went ridiculously fast.
It's amazing how much crossover there is in the, reptile and the invert world and the fish world, as somebody was talking to me about recently. Yeah, it's just there's so many amazing animals in our world. I honestly don't know how anybody can be satisfied keeping one species. A lot of people just do ball pythons, or they just do, I don't know, a certain species of fish, or they like a specific type of tarantula. And I personally enjoy the beauty in the diversity. And like, I think that one species is so beautiful and amazing and fun to watch. But then also too, I think it's more amazing when you have something right next to it that is, you know, totally different.
Yeah.
And so what are some of your favorite animals, and what kind of reptiles did you keep that you enjoyed?
So for the reptiles, again, like you say, I started off with royal pythons or your ball pythons
Yeah.
first. Then we started to go like a little bit bigger, and we started to get like our we had Burmese python.
Mm.
We have a boa constrictor. I started keeping like some Yemen chameleons. I had an iguana, uh, Chinese water dragons, bearded dragons, and stuff like that. And that's what I'd always really been into. It was more like my reptiles, my lizards. Now with tarantula, we've got over 300 tarantulas. I'm
Awesome.
started doing a lot of breeding as well, but I prefer like my more rare species that you don't see, that aren't as common. Um,
Mhm.
Not many people sort of know that much about them, so it's sort of cool to experience it for myself rather than what everyone else
Definitely.
experienced. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, when was your first BTS show? When did you start going to expos, and how far is the BTS show from you? Is it a big deal to go?
Not really, to be honest. So the BTS, when I was a kid, the BTS used to actually be held at my high school. Um, so it was like it was really, really close. And then as it got bigger, it sort of moved to a different location. And I think it's in Warwickshire now. which is around 40-minute drive for us. So it's not too far, but
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
yeah, it's an awesome
Was
show.
it at Wood Green High School?
It was, yes.
Or middle school, I think.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's where I used to go to high school as well. So it was awesome. But I was only young when it used to be held there. So
That's awesome. Somebody in the comment feed is saying that you keep or that you have kept dart frogs as well.
oh yes, I've got dart frogs. We keep
Ooh.
Dendrobates leucomelas, and we've actually bred some. So we've got some froglets now as well. We raised them from eggs, so that was cool because I didn't plan it. It just sort of, I put a petri dish in their enclosure and I found eggs and we just raised the eggs and they're the little froglets.
Oh,
Yeah,
I love tadpoles. So when I kept dart frogs, I had it looks pretty much like what you have behind you with automated rain chambers, and they were all like planted and stuff because frogs, you have to have a lot of foliage.
in this one, we've got our frogs.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I love it.
they are
I'm
cool.
the worst with plants. I love live planet stuff, but plants don't love me. I don't know what it is. I have a black thumb. I'm terrible with plants. But we used to we used to get little film canisters. They were like the little plastic tubes that you used to put your film in to take it to go get developed, and then we'd put a suction cup on them and put the film canisters on the wall, and the frogs would lay their eggs in there. It'd be a little bit of water from the misting system,
Yeah,
and the I would just take the eggs out once they were laid and let them morph out. And I love tadpoles and froglets. Frogs are awesome. There's so many beautiful frogs. And when I was young in California, there were a lot of tree frogs and stuff, and so cool.
I did want to get white tree. Is it white tree frogs
The
originally?
white tree frogs, people call them dumpy frogs.
Yeah. And the Amazon. Which one of those? Is it the red eye?
Oh, red-eyed tree frogs.
Red eye tree frogs. Yeah, they're cool as well. I did
Yes.
want to get some of those. So
I've had colonies of those a few times and they're really beautiful. I actually just morphed out a whole group of the white tree frogs. They're so cute. And when they grow up, they have the males have that big old chin. They're so cute. I like how big they get. And yes, people in the comment feed are complimenting you, saying you're awesome, talking about what shows they've been to, saying that your frogs are beautiful, that it's awesome watching them grow. So you are amazing.
thank you guys. Thank you. It's cool. A lot of the people in the chat as well. We've actually got to meet at some of the shows last year. So to everyone we've met, it's been awesome meeting.
So tell me how it feels being able to converse with some of your fans.
It's really cool. Like we never really expected anything to sort of come from doing YouTube, really. As I suppose pretty much everybody who doesn't. You never think that much is going to come from it, or people are going to watch your content and stuff. So when you do see people watching your content, and you see the same people coming back for your live streams, and I think it's important to sort of do stuff like this and your live streams where you can actually have good conversation with them as well. Give them the social side rather than just uploading a video and responding to a comment. You can have good conversation. So I think it's really important, and everyone's got something in common. So it's pretty cool to do.
So who would you say is your favorite person that you've met through like social media or YouTube? Do you have are there any fans or viewers that have become friends?
Yeah, we've got quite a lot. To be honest, we've got quite a lot. So the other hosts from like the TTSNT, obviously we've met all of those guys, except for Danny. We've not met Danny yet in person.
Danny's awesome.
The other guys like Pet Rock and Roll, Jaden, Craig from Cape Slap Arachnophobia, and Sidex as well from the Invert Kingdom. So we've met all those guys at shows, and we just get on really, really well. Their channels are amazing. We all just click and just sort of bounce off each other. So it's pretty cool. I don't really want to pick out any people who like subscribe to the channel because all of the subscribers are amazing. So I don't want to single out or anything. But yeah, from the other guys who we do YouTube with, I think those guys are probably the people I'm closest with. Um,
Mhm.
there are others like Gar from Arachnotube. He's always there for giving advice, and his channel's awesome. Richard, Tarantula Collective, is always good to talk to and stuff as well. So it's great that you can do it with people from all around the world.
Amazing. I know I was just talking to someone out of Florida, and I was asking him about an interview, and he said, "Well, everything's closed right now. How are you going to get here?" And I was like, "No, we're going to do like an online, like a webcam thing." He was like, "Oh, okay." Oh, I have a gift on the kitchen table. Would someone bring it to me? I have a little gift that I received from someone that I decided, oh, I'm going to open that on the live today.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, so, tell me what your thoughts and feelings were about reptiles and spiders before you got into the hobby. Were you one that was phobic and totally did a 180, or were you like just didn't know much about them? I
Mm,
never knew when I was younger that people kept exotic stuff as pets. I didn't
I
figure
think
that out until I got in my later years.
I'd probably say I was the same to some extent. Like I knew people had like kept snakes and things like that and tarantulas, but to the extent of how many different species there are and how many people keep, I was quite closed off to that when I was a bit younger. Um, I've always loved animals since I was a little kid, but my parents sort of said I could never keep them at their house. I left home when I was 16, and then it just went from there. As soon as I left home, I think within like the first 3 months, I'd already had like 2 snakes and a horned mountain dragon. I think was my first lizard, and then it just escalated and went skyrocketed through.
That's awesome. So, this is a woman who has a channel. Her name is it Kelly Mackey? So, I was actually commenting on her channel. She has some amazing snail videos. I love snails. I think they're awesome, especially the big snails.
Yeah,
I just love them. I think they're amazing, beautiful creatures. And I don't know as much about them as I would like to, which is why I like to watch snail content. So Kelly, keep banging out that amazing snail content. So she sent me some stickers. They're very cute.
we've
Critters and Creations.
we've met Kelly a few times at the shows as well. Been out for a few drinks with Kelly and Sam from Bug Realms. She's lovely. Kelly is.
Oh, look. So there's a little baggie here. Let's see what's in here. Ooh. So yes, I've been really enjoying her content. I don't know how long she's been in the hobby, but she seems very knowledgeable. And sadly, I cannot keep everything. And so if there's something that someone has that I can't keep, of course I want to watch somebody else keep it. A beautiful beaded bracelet.
Oh, that's
Love
all.
it. Ooh, I even like the clasp. Oh, and then I should have opened this first. There's a little letter. Aww, cute little letter. Says
That's
to
very
Marita, thank you for watching my videos and interacting with me on my channel. Well done for guessing the closest to the correct answer on the amount of Thai pink dragon millipedes I have. Here are stickers and a small handmade bracelet. Oh, I love it. Hope you enjoy your little prizes. Thank you for all of your support. Kelly from Critters and Creations XOXO. So hugs and kisses back to you, Kelly. I think you're amazing. I just ordered some new stickers. So let's see. Is her address on there? Of course it is. You might be getting a little package back from me, Kelly. So I love it. Thank you so much. I take it she's not on the in the chat today, or she probably would have chimed in, but I guess I can send this to her later. Um, so tell me what you're most excited about keeping right now, or something that you'd like to get into.
What am I most excited about keeping? I'd probably say all of my fossorials. To be honest, at the moment, I think my Asian arboreals are probably my favourite, but I'm having a lot of fun with my fossorial species. And there's definitely some that I want to look to breed that aren't really that readily available.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like the hunt for the mature males, like for Sauropagopus doriae, or the Orthodoctonine Ho Chi Minh as well. So there's something I'd like to breed. I
Very
think,
interesting.
yeah, any
Go ahead.
tarantula. We've got a few new ones coming this week as well that we're pretty excited about.
So, tell me, what draws you to a certain species? Is it more how rare it is, or is it, um, I mean, what is it that excites you the most about wanting to work with a species?
I don't know, to be honest. I do normally go off like the looks and things like that as well,
Mhm.
which I'm sure everybody does. Everyone wants a good looking animal. Um, but at the same time, I like stuff that's going to be a little bit challenging. I'd probably base it off that rather than like your rarity and stuff. Um,
Okay.
so for things like your Sauropagopus doriae, they are quite a handful that can be quite defensive. It's something that you have to be very, very careful with. Whereas something like a brachypelma, you could just easily scoot it out with your hand if you wanted to, or
Right.
uh, the chances of sort of getting tagged by a species like that is quite slim. Um,
Right.
but with some of your old world species, it's that little bit more exciting to sort of know that you have to be careful, and there's that little bit of risk there. I think I'd probably say that. Yeah, I don't know. I think if I just see something and I like it, I'll read up on it, and if it sounds cool, I'll go from there. Like.
Very awesome. So Brienne just came on the chat. There was a viewer that contacted me recently asking about stickers, and I told her I'd love to send you stickers, but we left all of our stickers back in New Mexico. But we just ordered more stickers. So, Brienne, if that was you, then your sticker order should be sent out pretty soon. What was I going to ask you next? Oh, I know. Do you have any tips for rehousing or pulling egg sacs on some of those species that are a little more defensive, or, ones that are a little less trustworthy? What's
Uh,
your method?
watch your fingers. I'd say watch your fingers is the main one. I think just be respectful. As long as you respect the spider, don't go in all guns blazing. Try and be as gentle as you can. Um, I tend to normally leave my spiders to it, really. I very rarely see, probably about 70% or 80% of my tarantulas. Um,
Hmm.
if I do have to do a rehouse, always have a catch cut ready, because when you don't expect them to bolt, they do. Numerous
Right.
times, tarantulas running across the table or the floor. Always have a catch cut ready, and just try not to mess around too much and be worried about scooting it into a cup. I think if the quicker you do it and you have that little bit more confidence, the easier it'll make it and the less stressful it'll make it for the tarantula. Um,
I agree.
I just think there's a fine line between being confident and being too cocky. You have to find that fine point and make sure you're not being careless as opposed to confident, I think.
Right. Now, if I recall correctly, you and the missus adopted a new member of the family recently.
We did, yes. We've just had a little Akita puppy, named Kilo. She's growing really, really quick. So she's 13 weeks old now, uh,
Oh,
and she's just getting big. She's already half the size of our other dog. Um,
oh my gosh.
she's going to be huge.
I love Akitas.
They're beautiful, and they're so underestimated. Like people think that they're really um,
Mhm.
aggressive dogs, but they're really not. I think it's how you raise them. As long as you show them love and again respect, they're exactly the same back to you.
Right. So did you get her from a breeder, or was she a rescue, or tell me how she came into your family?
So it started. I've always loved dogs. I'd have hundreds of them if I had the space. We used to have another Akita called Shaggy, and he had to be put down a few years ago. His legs started to go, and he was in constant pain. And I said I'd never have another dog other than the one we've already got. I didn't want to feel like I was replacing him. My wife was showing me some of the videos and pictures of him when he used to just be sitting halfway up the stairs and looking all dopey and stuff. Um, and it went from there really. So because she was showing me pictures, and I thought I've got to have another puppy. So we looked at some local breeders, and we went and picked one up. Well, we put a deposit down for her and picked it up as soon as it was ready after the 8-week period with its mum. Like, but it was just a local breeder.
Awesome. That's awesome. Let's see. Somebody asked, Tarantula Arc said, Kieran, tell the story of the tea in Rachel's purse. It's one of my favorites.
Right, it weren't in the purse. So we lost what was it now that we lost? A Hattie Hattie. The Sauropagopus Hattie Hattie. And we lost it for, I think it was around 6 weeks. Was it 3 weeks or 6 weeks? And we searched everywhere in our old house, and we couldn't find it anywhere. We didn't have a reptile room or a tarantula room at that point. They were all kept in the living room, and we couldn't find it anywhere. 3 weeks or 6 weeks later, either way, we was driving down the motorway, going to one of the tarantula shows, and a girl who was in the back of the car just screamed out, and she had a Hattie Hattie crawl on her hand. She sort of flung her hand, and it went onto her boyfriend who was sitting next to her. And we've got 70 mile an hour down the motorway. I had to tip my Costa out of my Costa cup and pull over on the hard shoulder of the motorway and try and scoot it into a Costa cup. And that was it. Yeah, so it escaped for like 3 or 6 weeks, and then it appeared in the car, somehow got into the car. Yeah, but it's alive. Wow. And so it's still here.
That's amazing. That I will say that was so we kept stuff all around our house for years and years. And then in New Mexico about 15 years ago, we finally built a facility, and I have to say it was really nice because, if a Metallica got out or something, you would know. And we painted the walls like a really bright baby blue. That way, pretty much anything, you'd just see it on the wall. The room was totally sealed up. So it's like, it'll turn up. But it's not like it was going to be on the toilet seat when you got up in the middle of the night. You know what I mean? And we keep venomous snakes too. And so we bought this big place, but it didn't have like an insulated outbuilding. So everything's back in the house again. But it's big enough that we have our work areas and our living areas. But yeah, you definitely want to make sure that you don't have any rattlesnakes loose because,
definitely. It is something I want to do. Over here, we have to have like a DWA license, it's called, for keeping venomous snakes. And it is something that I did want to do for the start of this year, but I'll probably wait for another year or so. Do some more like venomous handling training first and stuff. I'd love to get some like vipers, like eyelash vipers is what I'd really, really like to have. But we'll see what happens in the future. I just want to make sure it's timed correctly, and again, you have to show them a lot of respect because if you get bit by one of them, you know about it.
Yeah, it's a bad deal. So, let me ask you, is there anyone in your personal life that you've either lost or I would say it's put a barrier in your relationship because you keep these things? Like some people will say, oh, I was really close with my mom and I started keeping snakes and she'll never come to my house again. Something like that.
Not really, to be honest. Even though like my parents sort of never let me keep anything in their house when I was a kid, I think because I moved out at such a young age and sort of became my own person, when we're away now, if we're on holiday, they will come in and make sure that everything's working on the timer for all of the enclosures. They'll make sure for like our parrot, like we've got a macaw as well, that's fed, watered daily, and the same for our snakes and stuff. So there's not really anybody that's sort of stopped speaking to me or distances themselves because of it. Some of them don't like spiders, but they may come in and have a look, but they won't sort of touch anything or feed anything like, and that's it.
That's awesome. Princess Sophie Pink is on, and she said that she's actually lost her corn snake twice. So I'm guessing she found it also twice. But corn snakes are, any colubrids I feel like are definitely sneakier than pythons.
Yeah, I think pythons they're just more laid back, aren't they? Really, you could leave a python out on the floor for like, I don't know, 5 minutes or something, not have to worry. With a colubrid, they're gone.
Yeah, a lot of times. It was really funny. So, way back when in New Mexico, when all of our animals were still back in the house, we were out of town for the day, or I don't remember. We came back and it was really late at night. And we came in and it looked like someone had broken in the house and robbed us or something. All of our pictures were knocked down off the wall, and my desk papers were tossed everywhere. And we were like, unless they want to come in and steal an animal, like it's not like we're rich or anything. And so we were kind of looking around, and then one of the oldest kid, who he had a jungle carpet python in an enclosure in the living room. He always would go to look at his snake. Kind of, we walk through the room, you sort of look in there, and he said, "Hey, my snake is out." And that python was a little sneak. And they're arboreal, so they climb. And it was really funny because we realized he was like on top of the refrigerator, or on top of he had climbed. So he climbed out of his enclosure, up a bookshelf, and then along the wall on anything. He was big and long, but kind of thin, so he could reach a lot of stuff. So he was crawling along, knocking all this stuff off of the walls. And we're like, "Oh, that's a happy a happy ending." The intruder was not an intruder at all. Just a curious little python.
It's crazy. Yeah, we've got a carpet python as well that we keep arboreally like in here. It's pulled one of its logs off the side of the tank now, so I've got to get it out and temporarily like rehouse it while I sort of silicon that back to the side. But they are beautiful, beautiful snakes.
Definitely.
Just a little snappy at first, aren't they? But
That's what I was going to say. They're definitely a nippier species, and they do have a long fang, so not something that you love getting bitten by. But not a huge deal either.
yeah,
Tarantula Arc is saying our Dumeral's boa got out one night. Luckily, she stayed right on top of the enclosure. Yeah, that is lucky.
yeah. It's never fun looking for a snake either, because they can fit in some places that you really wouldn't expect. And
True.
It's trying to find them.
So tell me, so your living situation, do you have your own place? Is it an apartment? What are the rules in your area as far as the laws in your community about keeping animals?
Yeah, so me and the wife, we've got our own house. So we just use one of the spare bedrooms for our animal room. And we've also we've sort of filled it up too much. So now we've started going into the wife's office area. So she keeps a couple of the snakes and some of the other tarantulas in there as well. For rules, pretty much we can keep anything that's not on a DWA list. So it's pretty much anything non-venomous. We can really keep. You can keep some of your rear fang venomous. So it's beautiful.
This is that same naughty jungle carpet python.
It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. As is the Irian Jaya.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they are beautiful. Beautiful snakes. You can keep things like false water cobras as well. So you can have like your rear fang venomous, and they're not on the DWA list. It's only things like your cobra, viper, anything like that. You obviously have to have a license for.
Interesting. Very interesting. So speaking of Jane, how does she fit into all this? Like, does she love it as much as you? Does she just tolerate it? Are there things that she likes and things that you like?
Yeah, we pretty much have the same sort of interests with our animals. She didn't really want me to have the macaw, because obviously how much hard work they are. You do have to show them a lot of attention and play with them a lot. And they live for such a long period of time, it'll probably outlive me. But I can always sort of twist a thumb a little bit. With tarantulas, we don't really ask if there's a tarantula she wants to get in the collection that we don't have. She'll just buy it and it'll turn up. she went to the shop one of the days for some like a bottle of pop and some bits to eat, and she came back with like 7 tarantulas. So
Oh, that's awesome.
things
Dang,
like
I
that.
need to be married to her. No, my husband's worse than I am, I think. We almost bought a fennec fox about a month ago.
Beautiful.
Yeah, she was really cute and really sweet. But I do want to have a fennec fox or maybe a pair of fennec foxes one day. But before that, I decided to get servals. And
Yeah.
so, but of course, we keep investing in other projects. I just bought a blue-tongued skink for $1,000.
Wow.
And then for Christmas, I bought JD a $1,200 ball python out of New York from Honey Reptiles. Big shout out to Hector and at Honey Reptiles. And then we just agreed to buy $2,000 worth of retics, which they're freaking beautiful.
Wow.
And yeah, so
I would
my
love
mammals.
to do it.
Oh, I love them so much. They are. Oh my gosh. I don't know if you knew that when we were moving, I got a pretty nasty bite from our 20-foot female. And it was it was a little rough. I had about 7 people with me, and most of them were, I wouldn't say they were panicking, but like borderline panicking. And so her mouth was big enough to fit around. She got me right in the wrist, so it was very bloody. And I actually was perfectly calm. But they were trying to. There's a corn cob method where you bite a retic's tail if they bite you. Don't do that. Don't do that. So it was when they were doing that to her that she really started to twist and pull the wound open. And I
Just makes
actually
it
lost so
difficult.
much blood. So I was just like trying to keep my muscles relaxed. I was trying to, stay calm, trying to keep my pulse down. And I actually lost so much blood, I lost consciousness.
Oh, no.
And yeah, when I fell, she just released me. And they were laughing because I sat up and I said, "Where is she? Is she okay?" I wanted to make sure they hadn't done anything to her.
Yeah.
And I said, "Is everyone okay?" And they were laughing because I was like, well, one person thought, oh, that I was like dying. And so the fact that I rose from the dead and wanted to know how the snake was doing, everybody was kind of laughing about that. And then about an hour before that, we had moved the washing machine and dryer and loaded them up, and we had broken the water line. And so the water to the house was shut off. So I'm covered in blood and I couldn't wash up. And so I called my doctor's office, and my doctor knows my husband and I very well. And he was like, "What did you do?" I'm like, I'm just going to tell you, like, I got a bad non-venomous snake bite, but I don't have time to come in and see you. It's fine. It doesn't need stitches. It's already washed and cleaned up. I said, but I need antibiotics for sure. I said, it's like a big open wound. And he was like, "You can't come in." I said, "No, I'm really busy. Like, we've got like the truck outside, like we're loading stuff." And he was like, "Okay, you better come back if you get really sick." And I was like, "Oh, I will. We're moving out of state right this minute, but sure, I will." And I said, I promised him I would go to the hospital here if I felt like I was getting, if it
Yeah.
started looking bad. So I had to go buy duct tape, and I had to go into the pharmacy. So I'm covered in blood, and my arm is like bandaged. And yeah, I got some looks in the store. It was an interesting day. And then we had to
Did
still
you really
finish
go for
loading
it?
stuff and drive across the state. And, so every time I got out to, fill up the U-Haul with gas, people were like, "What does she have in there?"
Yeah, it's like
So
something like a murder film or something, like a
it,
horror film.
yeah, when I was buying the duct tape, the girl was like, "What did you do? Like, what is happening here?" And I was like, "This is my blood. It's okay. Like, I'm bandaged, got antibiotics in the system. All is well." She was like, "Okay, that'll be $5.95, ma'am."
Did it
So,
wrap as well, or was it just a
well,
strike?
so she didn't really wrap me. So she was still in her enclosure. I had it open about that much. We were trying to ease her out. So really only the first 2 or 3 feet of her was even out. So her body was kind of like whipping around and stuff in the enclosure, but it's a sliding door. We were holding the door closed. Basically, I have some nerve damage. The only risk to me at that point, really, now the pressure was intense. I'm not going to say it didn't hurt because it did. Retics have an incredibly powerful bite, but it was just that she got me on the wrist. Blood was pouring. There were 2 streams of blood that were just pouring
Or in it, yeah.
all over, and so luckily I wasn't worried about the carpet because we were moving and that's our house. So who cares?
Yeah.
Um, it just was the amount of blood that I lost that really was, you could say, putting me in danger. But I just drank a lot of water and everyone was like, oh, you can't be moving stuff now. I was like, we don't have time for me to not be moving stuff. And it was really funny because a few hours later, I was packing ball pythons and one of the ball pythons latched onto me and it just really hurt. Like they just really got a nerve. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. And so I went and put it under like warm water that was like a little too warm. And then they were like, fuck that. I'm letting go. And I was like, yeah.
I tend to
So,
find I've done it once when I've been bitten. I've used I haven't actually got any. I've normally keep some in here just for that reason. It's sort of like the alcohol-y type gel.
uh-huh.
And I've put that on before when I've been bitten, and as soon as that goes near the mouth, they just let go straight away because of the.
You know what? Yeah, we've read that with like a Listerine mouthwash. It's like strong alcohol. And we've tried that a couple of times. We tried it that day and it just pissed her off. But actually, a hognose latched onto JD last night. I was just pumping and pumping and pumping that venom. And yeah, the mouthwash didn't seem to phase her at all. So I don't know that but if it works for you, I guess we'll keep trying it.
It was only once. It was with the was it with the boa constrictor? I think it was the boa constrictor, not one of our royals. It had probably been when the boa bit me. And if you just we just squirted it on, and as soon as it went, I suppose it depends which type of stuff that you've got, I suppose, as well. But
Yeah.
just let go straight away, and its mouth stayed open for like a little period of time as well. And I suppose because of the horrible alcohol taste.
Yeah, so somebody Couch Locked is saying that vodka works, and so we used to keep tequila because I don't really drink it. Somebody gave me some tarantula tequila for my birthday one year because it said tarantula, and so we just kept it on top of the big retic tanks because that's not a bite. Their teeth they have some serious teeth. So have you ever been bitten by anything? Obviously that boa. Have you ever been bit by a tarantula?
I've never been bitten by a tarantula. No, I think the only things I've been bitten by, I think I was bitten by one of my water dragons when we had that. I've been bitten by all of the snakes apart from the Burmese python that we had. That died not long ago, to be honest, the Burmese. But that never bit me. It was probably the most friendly snake that we had. All of the others, the royals have bit me a couple of times, and the boas bit me a couple of times. But yeah, nothing major. You have to expect it, I suppose. With snakes, if you're going to keep snakes, it's going to happen at some point, isn't it?
Definitely. And people ask me, have you ever been bitten by a snake? I'm like, probably weekly. And they're just like, oh, Jen, you didn't die? No, I didn't
It's
die.
more the shock, isn't it? Especially with things like your royals or when the carpet python that bit me within, I think, 30 minutes of me having it. I got it back home.
Mm-hmm.
I was recording a video to sort of say, hey, new edition. As I was holding it, it just sort of turned and struck. And it's more the shock because if you don't expect the bite to come, it's like it happens and you don't know. It's happened before you even think about it. But it doesn't really work. But I suppose with like your bigger snakes like your retics, or if the Burmese had bit me, I'd have felt it, and I felt the one from the boa as well.
Mm.
That
Yeah. Bigger, longer teeth, definitely. You know what? I have to say I'd be nervous about being bitten by, and I'm real careful. I wouldn't want to be bitten by a Theraphosa because they're,
Yeah,
oh no, that'd be
like
scary.
inch long fangs, is it? Around inch,
Hmm.
inch and a bit maybe. Not good, not great.
And so it took me one time. People said, "Oh, if a snake bites you, don't pull away." My very first snake bite, I did. I'm embarrassed to say I yanked away. And I was digging sand boa teeth out of my hand for a week. And then I'm like, that poor boa. I mean, I've got 3 of its teeth in my hand. So I felt so bad. So now I just wait. So, a lot of times it's just like a, and then, it's over. But, some of those little boogers, I got a kind of a nasty hognose bite last year, and it just gnawed and gnawed and gnawed on me. And I should have been a little more proactive about getting it off because my hand did swell up like a balloon. They are a rear-fanged venomous snake. It's not considered medically significant to humans. The painful part was just that it swelled up, just that pressure on my skin. And
Yeah,
it looked stupid. And I was like, well, I'm not going to not go to work. So I wrapped my hand in like an ace band. Oh, what? Ooh. All right. We had a little camera fall in the background over here. Um, yeah. So people, so I can't remember what. Oh, well, when I got this retic bite, I was telling people that when we were moving, I caught my hand in a vice because a retic bite is like a vice. And I do hesitate to tell people that I've been hurt by the animals because people already think they're so dangerous or they're so mean. And it's never, I mean, if a snake reaches out to grab me, usually it's because I'm feeding them and they accidentally grab my hand. Or, I mean, snakes are not as aggressive. Even the deadliest snakes, they're not as aggressive usually as people think they are. And people think when they see a rattlesnake across the street, if you don't shoot it, it's going to get you. I'm like, it's not going to chase you. It's
yeah.
not going to leap into the air and go for your carotid. Just walk away. Like, what
It's more
what's
defensive.
the danger?
They're normally only really strike if, like you say, if you're feeding or something. But I suppose if there's one out in the street or something, it's more if they're scared of you, and it's
Hmm.
a defense, a
Right.
defense thing rather than choosing to attack for the sake of it type of thing. I suppose it can happen, but 9 times out, it's more because they're more scared of you than you are of them.
Definitely. And a lot of times when people get bitten by rattlesnakes or things, venomous things in the wild, it's because they see the animal and then they're going after it to try to kill it. And it's like, if you see a snake 12 feet away from you and you know it's dangerous and you don't know what you're doing, just stay away from it. But, people are geniuses, so.
Common sense, isn't it?
Well, I would think so, yeah. Also, too, like, why kill an animal just because you've discovered that it's alive? That's mean.
Is there anything that you think that you wouldn't keep, or are you pretty much open to anything?
Wouldn't keep. I don't love black mambas.
Yeah,
I think they're cool, but really wouldn't care to keep them. You need a massive amount of space. I mean, their reach is like 6 to 8 feet. So if you think about if you're going to open that enclosure to toss food in, first of all, you need some kind of like a locking shift box where you can close the middle of it and they're on one side or the other. And then you can, that's what we've done in the past. So let's say you have a black mamba and the enclosure is just like our screen and there's a locking shift in the center. You can close that. And even if they're halfway in between, you close it most of the way and then they skittle out to the other side. You lock it, you clean, you water, you put the food in there, and then you close the door, you unlock it. And the first thing they do is they want to know what was going on over there and they run over to the other side, lock it again. Um, but of course, you still need to take them out for breeding. If you have any problems, if you have stuck shed. Now, if you're keeping cobras and you've got an eye cap on, guess what? That's going to be a job.
Use the tubes.
Yes, exactly. So use the tubes. You can have them most of the way through the tube. Use a damp Q-tip and brush it over the eyelid. That's worked in the past. But I like animals that are beautiful. I like animals that are interesting. I like animals that are endangered, that I feel a responsibility to reproduce. And black mambas don't really fall in any of those categories. So they're an animal that is one of the highest risk animals to keep, and not one that I would feel super rewarded. I don't feel keeping. They are very dangerous, and it's not that I wouldn't keep them if something arose that I was the only person that could keep them. I feel like we could do it relatively safely, our whole team that we have, but it's not one that I would save up money and go, oh yes, black mambas. Now there are species of cobras and gaboons, and I like eyelash vipers and Pope's vipers. Those I do. I feel like it's worth it. They're that beautiful. They're that interesting, and I enjoy keeping those animals and reproducing them. But yeah,
I think so. A bit more about the COVID. There's not many, probably for the better. There's not that many people that do your venomous reasons of having the license and getting them imported and everything like that. It's probably because if there were too many, there wouldn't be in responsible hands of those. But at the same time, gutting because there's so much more out there than what we get to see, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I certainly don't think that those types of animals are ones that most people should keep. And I'm glad that they're not being bred like puppies and kittens, because they're not appropriate for most keepers. But I do think they're awesome, and I really enjoy them.
100%. 100%. I think it's the same for some of your tarantula as well. It's even though the venom's nowhere near as bad as what you'd get from like a viper or anything like that, but there is a level of being responsible, I suppose, as well. And even a bite from something like a Stromatopelma calceatum, for instance, it's not suitable for everybody. I wouldn't say if you're a beginner, because the first tarantulas I ever bought was myself was a HMAC, Balfouri, and what was the other one? An OBT, and there was just 3 tarantulas I ever bought. But
oh my gosh!
I've never really struggled with my HMAC. I've raised it to an email. I've got an egg sac now that I've got to pull this weekend.
Ooh.
And I've really struggled with them. But I think for those that don't what they're getting themselves into, don't respect tarantula, it's going to be a suitable tarantula for you, because it can end.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And here's what I think about too. I think about, there's a potential risk of somebody being bitten and venomated, but I don't know if some people might be offended by this. I think about the welfare of the animal. If that's not an animal that you're well equipped to rehouse, what's the chance that it's going to get smashed or fall off your table, or get loose and it maybe dies somewhere, your cat kills it or whatever. So I think about too, okay, so you're brand new to this, you've got little kids in that, I think about all the people. And then I also too very much think about the animal and think, oh, that might not end well. So.
And I think the same for that is me with the whole handling. I've got nothing against people who handle tarantulas. Personally, I've done it a few times, but it's very, very rare, because I just don't feel the need for that unnecessary risk. I mean, there's not always there's not always a risk doing it. It's not asking to be picked up. I'll just leave it, sort of thing. I suppose as long as people are careful, but I just choose not to just leave them to it and feed. I always use a catch cup, get it out, and put it straight back in. It's just the less interaction that you have to physically have with it, I think the better, really, for both you and the animal. So
I agree with that. I think people that keep tarantulas as pets, that are carrying them around and holding them all the time, um, I understand that that's your kind of your companion animal. I definitely handle tarantulas when the need arises. For example, in an educational setting, people are afraid of tarantulas. I will reach my hand in there, encourage it to crawl on my hand, hold it so that people can see, wow, this really, this animal isn't trying to hurt anybody. However, I always allow the animal to lead. If they do not, if they were like 3 times, like, don't get on my hand, I'll just say, you know what, guys, she's choosing not to come out today. Maybe you guys are a little too loud. Maybe you guys are too scary. And so, I'm just going to close the lid and you can peek in through the window. And so I very much, sometimes I'll have another animal there just in case that happens. But I'll even tell the people, like, okay, well, she's decided not to come out and visit today. And that's all right. That's her prerogative. She's not a slave. She's an animal that's here for me to care for. And sometimes people are a little bit, so they're like, well, make it do it. Or people say, oh, well, can you make it curl up in my hand, if I have a snake? Or can you make it come to me? Can you make it look at it? No, I don't do that. But like, if my snake wants to come to you and I trust that you're not going to drop it, which I always like keep my hand underneath their hand. But no, I don't, even in an educational setting, they're not circus performers. And so sometimes people are a little bit surprised by that, especially since on camera, everything looks perfect. Well, that might be the fourth tarantula that I filmed that the other ones didn't want to come out and be on camera. And so.
And I think that's the difference, isn't it? It's being a sort of responsible keeper. It's different to having like a pet kitten or a pet dog, isn't it? And obviously, you know your stuff, and a lot of people who keep the tarantulas do know their stuff, and they'll do the research and stuff, so it's not too bad. But if you're just like, you've never done research, you go and buy one from a pet shop, it's not the same as having something like a kitten or something. I think snakes are a little bit easier to, like with snakes, it's not as bad handling the snake. There's very little risk handling like a ball python or something, is there really, compared to something like an old world tarantula, for instance. Very little risk.
Definitely. Well, I don't know if you know about this, but I have a tiny bladder, so it's time for my potty break. I'll be gone for 2 minutes. So this is time for you to tell everybody how you like to set up a tarantula. Tell them, Kieran.
Okay. Hello. How do I like to set up a tarantula? I like to make the enclosure as naturalistic as possible, as some of you know. So I'll always use things like moss and try and get as much live plants in the enclosure as I can. Depending on the species, you'll need to set them up differently. So you have your terrestrial enclosures, you have your arboreal enclosures, and you have your arboreal enclosures for most of your Asian species. Yeah. Who have we got? Have we got anything in the chat that I can have a look at? See if anyone's got any questions while waiting for Maria to come back. Moon over Miami. Hello. Hello, Tanya. And hello, Rocky Mountain Spider Creek as well. I gave a quick thing, but I didn't know what sort of enclosure to go to, so I just said hello.
So tell me about those glass enclosures behind you. The ones I have like that were custom builds. Is that something you can get in your area?
So these style enclosures, yeah, we normally pick these up from from the expos, to be honest.
Hmm.
And when we normally go, we'll bulk buy and just buy a load of them.
Wow.
And then yeah, some of them we've built ourselves, like some of our fossorial ones, like this. So we keep some of our fossorial tarantulas in,
Wow, that's awesome.
and then I just put like sliding glass on the top, and we made these ourselves. But yeah, it's pretty cool because you get to see them make their burrow. So they make the burrow, it goes all the way down, and then you can actually see them
Wow.
through the bottom as
I
well.
mean,
So you still get to see your tarantula.
so that's an enclosure that you built?
Yeah, I've made one. Yeah.
Do you have any videos showing how you do that?
I've made a. I do have a video for the fossorial ones on how to make those. And I'm also looking to start making some of my own arboreal enclosures like these ones up here too.
Yeah.
So when I do that, I'll probably make a video for that as well. But it's fairly easy, to be honest. If you can get the glass pretty cheap, it's just some mesh that we got from Amazon. And we got like a big, massive sheet of it for dirt cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Glass that we ordered in bulk but had it cut to size.
Mm.
And then we use like vivarium glass runners, and we just cut them down and put them around the top. And silicon, that's all you need.
So do those have big doors that you can open to like reach in there if you need to?
On the
Like,
fossorial ones,
mhm.
the whole of the top, the whole of the top
Oh,
is like a slide out piece of glass.
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a
That,
nightmare it's a nightmare when you're trying to rehouse and you're trying to get like all of you have to get your substrate out bit by bit or
yeah.
trying to pull a tarantula up. But if you're breeding fossorials or trying to pull an egg sac, it makes it a lot easier and a lot better. Because the tarantula can just tap away at the top of the burrow and the female will come up to it. And when you're pulling an egg sac, you just go straight down the burrow to get it as well. So it's a little bit easier. Whereas some of our fossorials that we keep, we've got a lividus in here, which is still quite deep, about 7 or 8 inches at the back.
Mm-hmm.
But she's then made a burrow that goes down and across. So if she dropped an egg sac, it's going to be a pain. I'm going to have to take everything out in order to be able to get that egg sac. So makes it a little bit easier for those.
Here's a question for you. Do you let any of your moms incubate themselves? Do you pull all the egg sacs? Do you decide on a case-by-case basis?
Predominantly, I'll normally leave the egg sac. I mean, we've not really been breeding for too long, so it's still fairly new to us, and like we're having a lot of trial and error. But we'll normally leave the egg sac with the mum for around 30 to 35 days after we've found it. And then we'll pull the egg sac. Other species, like I've got a Balfouri that's paired up, I'll leave the egg sac to hatch with her.
Right.
She did have an egg sac before, and she ate it when it was meant to hatch, so it just weren't meant to be. But I think it just depends on the species. Like we've got a HMAC one to pull this weekend, and I want to pull it rather than leave it with the mum because I don't fancy catching, 150 or whatever.
And their webs, I mean, it's a mess. I've done that twice or 3 times.
You can actually see it on the enclosure. I've got it ready to pull, but you can see the egg sac at the back.
Ooh, beautiful. That's awesome.
So yeah.
Wow.
Cool. Hopefully it's viable and stuff. But
so what is your favorite substrate? It looks like it's some kind of cocoa fiber or something.
For most of them, we don't use cocoa fiber. Some of like your arid spiders, like your Brachypelma, something that don't really get misted down too much, we'll use cocoa fiber if I have to. predominantly for like all my Asian tarantulas, which is most of them, because they have quite damp substrate and they're misted down like weekly or whatever. I'll use Irish moss peat, or sometimes I'll use like topsoil, Westland topsoil. It just holds the moisture a lot better, and you don't seem to get any mold with them either. Occasionally you get a mushroom, but they're hot. The mushrooms that you get harmless to the tarantula, so not too bad.
Oh, thank you, Ramiro. I've got a person that keeps dropping in the super chat, Ramiro. He's a awesome guy. I got to meet him one time in Arlington. Super cool dude. He likes to build guns in his spare time, AKs and stuff like that. He's a very neat man, one I'm proud to call my friend. So thank you, Ramiro. Anybody drop into that super chat if you feel like it. So tell me about your preferred feeders. What do you like to feed your inverts?
I normally use dubia roaches, lateralis roaches. We'll use Mario worms for some of my more fussy ones, just because with a lot of my Asians, I'll chuck the dubia roach in and I'll pretty much just leave it, because the dubia roaches don't really tend to attack a tarantula or anything, so I don't worry about getting bitten. But for like my birapes, my female, she's quite weary on what she eats. She's quite picky. She won't take dubia roaches. She'll never feed off the tongue. And because of how much the tarantula costs for an adult female biru, I tend to just use a Mario worm, and I'll just squash the head and leave it at the entrance of a burrow, and it's always gone. For our bumblebee dart frogs, we'll use what are they called? Oh, the little flies, fruit flies.
Oh, fruit flies.
We'll make our own cultures of fruit flies, and use small mealworms, like some of these, for some of our slings too.
Nice.
But that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's just easier to have your own colony of like your dubia and your lateralis and stuff, and it all breeds itself, and then you've got infinity feeders. So
yeah, definitely. So tell me who some of your mentors are in the hobby, whether it was people that you know or maybe people online.
I'd say at first, we didn't really have anybody. We didn't know anybody that was in the hobby that we could talk to, and at first we were quite shy at reaching out to other people as well. So we sort of just kept ourselves to ourselves. I think after starting the channel myself and meeting new people, it enabled me to sort of reach out to people if I had any questions and stuff like that. We started in the hobby with tarantulas really from watching like different YouTubers, people like Dark Den. We did watch like Exotic Lair and stuff like that as well at first, because I didn't really know much about the tarantula hobby and things like that. But I tend to find that some of the smaller channels sometimes provide better information rather than it being just more entertainment based, I think.
Right.
So I'll watch any channel really that provides good information. I think Gar Reese is probably the person I reach out to the most for questions in breeding. As a YouTuber anyway, he's always got time to help. And then there's just other people who are not really in YouTube but are in the hobby. Like, so there's someone called Martin Leese on Facebook as well, and he does a lot of breeding in tarantula, and he's always answered any questions I've had. He's a really nice guy as well. So I think anybody who's approachable, really. There's people that I look up to, like Richard from the Tarantula Collective. He's an awesome dude as well, and his content's just way out there. Like, the footage he gets is awesome. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it, really.
Awesome. So tell me about one of the most like unusual or amazing things that you've seen keeping these animals.
I would probably say the breeding process. Like, from doing it myself, the way that like the males will lay their sperm web, how they can change so dramatically when they hit maturity as well. So you might have like a I don't know, a Lampropelma that's got all its normal colorations that you would expect it to have. As soon as it hits maturity, the coloration changes completely. It's just brown and fuzzy.
Right.
I never really expected any of that to happen until I started looking more into it and getting more into the hobby and into the breeding myself. The way that like the mating ritual, with the tapping and the drumming, the vibrating,
Mhm.
how long the ritual can take with different species as well. It's crazy. Yeah, I think that's probably the most exciting stuff I've sort of learned, really, and things that you wouldn't expect. I'd probably say that's it.
Yeah, I would totally agree. It's funny because people ask me about, how do snakes, do it? How do tarantulas, what's it like? And I'm like, oh, well, snakes kind of slither around each other and then they do this with their tails and they lay there. I'm like, and tarantulas do this whole thing and it's crazy. And she's got this slit on her belly and he's got these like suction bub hands and they're like, what? I mean, it really is. I mean, it's like something you would see on like the Twilight Zone or something. It's really not what you would ever dream of until you learn about it. And it's really amazing and incredible. I think they're, the fact that they're communicating and it's a pretty high stakes game. I mean, somebody might die. You never know. Um, So, if there were someone considering, like, I've been kind of watching tarantulas online, and I don't know, I might get one. What would be 3 things that you would tell someone that's considering coming into the hobby?
Do 3 things I would say. One, I'd say do it, go for it. I think once you get your first tarantula, your view of them changes completely. 2 would be to do your research
Mhm.
on the specific species that you're looking for, and 3 would be realistic with what species that you do go for. If you are going to go for an old world, I'm not one of the people that would say don't have an old world as your first. If you're
Right.
going to do it, go for it, but do your research and always respect the spider. That's probably the 3 things. Yeah.
Interesting. What are your thoughts on communal housing on any species?
Communal. I think it works with your Balfouri. Again, I don't think there's any, as far as I'm aware, and a lot of other people are aware, there's never actually been any documented communal species out in the wild,
Mhm.
like with factual evidence. However, with your Balfouri, I think that there's been quite a lot of evidence gained in captivity to prove that it
Mhm.
can work, and that there is very little, like cannibalism or anything like that, or stress to the tarantula. People keep some really, really big communals, and that they seem to be fine. So Jaden's just done a premiere tonight of him rehousing his Balfour communal, and it's just
Mm.
amazing. I'd recommend anybody going out and checking that video.
We'll post the link in the description box.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I think there's 37 tarantulas in that communal. One of them had escaped. So there were 40 originally. I think one of them had escaped. One of them had died in like a bad molt, and the rest are still there. So it just works. With other species, I don't agree with it so much. So I know some people keep like your Cochlearia communally, and for some people it does work, but for the rates of cannibalism seem to be a lot higher, I think. So I wouldn't personally keep anything other than a Balfour communal.
Right.
I try
So
to be
Balfour.
careful with what I say because I don't want to annoy anybody, annoy any
Right.
views. But it's a topic that.
Well, I'm asking you for your opinion
Yeah.
on the matter. So, take it or leave it, people. But so I know that Balfouri, the Socotra Island, is a very small, rocky island. So in the wild, they do nearly live communally because they'll have multiple animals in one longer burrow. I mean, basically everyone's in the same little spot. And so it seems that their natural environment in the wild is somewhat communal. And obviously, if you have multiple animals in one area, you want more space. You want a lot of space. You want a lot of physical barriers. You want to make sure there's plenty of food. But I've only kept them communally in one circumstance. And basically, it was an egg sac that I put in a larger enclosure with a lot of barriers, and I allowed them to grow up together. And it was funny because I sold them as a community, and I said, I'll be honest, I don't know how many are in here. And I sold them to Eric and Elise Lago. They have E Squared. I don't know where they're from. I don't remember, but they come to Texas a lot.
Yeah.
And it was really wild because I think we had like 42 spiderlings. And I had seen, like one that didn't molt out, that I had pulled out throughout the months. But they were like 9 months old or something. They had already had like maybe 4 molts. And so I put them in there once they reached the feeding stage, of course. So 6-9 months they'd been in there, and they took them apart that night because the expo was 2 days long. So I sold them the whole container Saturday. Saturday night they went and took it all apart so they could pack, put the babies and I'll sell them. And they said there were like 40 in there. So
Numbers
in our experience. Yeah, and we made sure to like really feed that one and to like heavily water one side and keep the other side dry to where, if they needed the moisture, they could go to one side, and if they needed it drier, they could go to the other side. And but before that, I had seen a breeder in a couple hours from where we live who had a big, nice communal, and he grew up. It was like his second generation of animals that were growing up in there. And he said that essentially he would see, for the most part, as many animals, he would see that maybe one male got eaten during breeding but he had more than he started out with.
And that's normal.
So,
that's normal and quite naturalistic anyway for the mature male to be eaten. I think.
Right.
I've got like my own views on that with the males being eaten as well. I mean, for communal wise, we don't actually have a communal yet. I don't even have a Balfouri communal, because I've said that if I'm going to have a communal, it's going to be from my own breeding. So it's sort of like a goal I've set myself, and I'm sort of being stubborn with it. I will keep them communally when I breed them successfully as like a reward type of thing. But I mean, with the whole mature males being eaten, I tend to find that most of the sacks that we've been successful with, it's when the female has ate the male afterwards. If you can say perfect, but I'm not going to lose sleep if the male gets eaten. It's a good meal for her before she goes off her food and burrows herself away.
Well, and if you think about it, if he's at the end of his life, and that's nature's way of allowing him. So not only as he just, copulated with a female, but if his body is going to be donated to her as nourishment for their offspring. And now I'm not saying I would want to be killed and eaten by a tarantula, but in another way, it's kind of a beautiful, and it's sort of also too, if you think about it, it's really funny, like if you ever see like a crusty old man with like a young, Playboy bunny type, people say like, well, at least he's going to die happy, like doing what he wanted to do. So that's sort of the way I think about it.
There's definitely worse ways to go, isn't there?
I would think so. And so if I have a young virile male that doesn't seem like he's at the very end and a group of females, I definitely will kind of supervise and make sure that he makes it out of there alive, so then he can rebuild his stock and recharge his pedipalps and hopefully pair with other females. But if I have a male that seems like he's barely hanging on, and I think that he's just going to die in the next week or two anyway, and that female, I kind of stay back because I feel like that's sort of going out in a blaze of glory, and that might seem inhumane. If you feel that way, then I don't know what to say, because that's what happens in nature. But yeah, I would agree with you for the most part. And a lot of times in the circumstances when the female did eat the male, that's when we have a successful reproduction.
Yeah, and they're quite decent sized egg sacs as well from what we've had, and yeah, I think it works. If it wasn't meant to be, they wouldn't do it, I suppose. I'll try and save them
Yeah,
if I can, like you say, and if it's a fairly young male and it's one that I can pass on to somebody else to
right.
help populate the home, I'm all for it. If it can't be helped and it happens, then it happens. You know.
Right. So now I'd like to know what got you onto YouTube and how you chose your name, Alternative Inverts.
So going into YouTube, I don't know. I think it was because we were watching. I've always been quite like creative person. Like I used to do a lot of graffiti art. I've now started doing tattooing. So I'm a tattoo artist now for my job full time. Um, I used to do a lot of drawing and stuff like that. And I think I see YouTube and making movies as another form of creative content, I suppose. Um,
Definitely.
and I just seen other people doing it, and I was watching some videos, and I just thought, oh, I could give this a go. I could do this myself. I was recording a lot with my phone anyway, getting some like feeding footage and stuff. So I
Hmm.
thought, why not put it there for other people to see? And so that's how we got into YouTube. The name, it was sort of myself and my wife that were thinking of the name, and we came up with it together. I think I suggested something else first, and then she brought the inverts in. I was thinking alternative something. That's just quite simply because I'm like an alternative dude. I like my alternative music, tattoos, stuff like that. So that's where the alternative part came.
Very interesting. So, what is your ultimate goal in the hobby or the industry? I mean, do you want to? I mean, what are your plans in the future?
For YouTube, I think just for YouTube, just sort of keep doing what I'm doing. As long as I'm having fun, it's worth doing.
Hmm.
Um, I don't want to. I do stress quite easy. I'm a quite easy stressor. I don't want to get to the point where I'm stressing constantly about YouTube. I want to make
Hmm.
sure that I'm putting content out there that I'm happy with it. It's something I'd want to watch myself, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So I'm not too worried about the YouTube thing. I've got no main goal. It's just sort of keep doing what I'm doing. Those who watch the channel along the way, it's great to have you with us. For my sort of spiders and stuff, I just want to try and get a lot of breeding done really this year. I want to try and populate and just do my part for the hobby. So it's not really about the selling of the tarantulas. Like I think from our egg sacs, we normally give around 30 or 40 spiderlings away for nothing. Just give them to people who watch the channel or friends and stuff. And then we'll just get rid of them to like the spider shop or something.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's just more for the whole. I've done that. I've produced those from scratch. You know, introducing the
Right.
male, raising the female, putting them together, and I think as well it's populating the hobby, which then reduces the amount of people that are going out there and taking them from the wild, whether it be legally or illegally.
Right.
There's no need to even if there's a species that's been readily bred in the UK, there's no reason to import them from another country legally if they're already here.
Right.
So leave as many out there in the wild as we can, and make them readily available for people who want to collect them. That's my goal, I think, and have fun doing it.
Awesome. Very awesome. So I was kind of looking in the chat to make sure anybody doesn't have any questions for you. And let's see. Um, Amy's over here singing your praises, saying YouTube wouldn't be the same without you.
Cheers.
Moon over Miami said that Jaden's stream was really great. The Mexican is on here. Ellie's Bug Babies is still on here. We've got a lot of people on here. Princess Sophie Pink was on, but then she had to go to bed. She's really sweet.
She's great, ain't she, PSP? Like, I think what she does for like the younger generation and
Oh yeah,
the kids, that they're not these big scary things that you have to like stamp on or tread on if you see them in your house. You know, I think what she's doing for the hobby is great, and she's doing really
I
well.
agree. Definitely. So I wanted to ask you who your favorite breeders are, or where do you get most of your stuff from?
I vary, to be honest. So I have got like some breeders that I am always sort of like loyal to, and I will always look to them first, just because of good experiences I've had with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the main ones I'll always go to first is the Spider Shop, just because like Lee, who owns the Spider Shop, he's awesome. They do get some nice species in as well, and then I would say Spider Planet. That's run by a dude called Emil, who's actually one of the first people to sort of see or find the Birapes as well. He's pretty cool. We always have a good chat with him at the shows. Always make sure that I always purchase a couple of spiders off him. He's always got some good, not so common species that are pretty cool. And Damien from Tarantula Shop EU as well. He's awesome as well, especially for your Asian arboreals, which I'm mad on. So I picked up a couple of Valhalla off Damien. The Sauropogopas Valhalla, and they weren't even for sale at that time. He had the first successful breeding of them ever, and he kept 2 back for me from that first ever egg sack and managed to get some. So that's cool.
That's exciting. Oh, I always love those deals. You know, definitely. I'm all about friends in the hobby, and I feel like we take care of our friends and they take care of us.
Exactly.
And you know, if ever something that you're planning to move that you know one of your friends is in love with, you always call them up first. And that's then when they call you, you're like, yes. So yeah, that's really awesome. Okay, so I want to see some of your tattoos, and I want to hear your greatest tattoo story.
Okay. My greatest tattoo story. Probably going to have to be the one I did myself on my leg. Well, one of the ones I've done a load on myself recently, but
really,
I've got a My Little Pony one down here.
I love it.
And that was actually a bet from one of my subscribers, Acid Splash, who's always in our live streams. He's obsessed with My Little Pony, and like is
he a brony?
He's a brony. He's
okay.
He's a brony. He's got teddies, books, everything. And I said he could have one tattooed, and he said, "I'll come and get one tattooed by you, but you have to have a tattoo of one as well." So I created my own little alternative invert pony with my own colours and stuff, and then tattooed it on my leg and put it on my YouTube channel. So now he's actually going to come down, hopefully in February, and get a tattoo from me, a brony tattoo. So I've got it just because he asked me to, just because he told me.
So what's your favorite tattoo that you've ever done, either on yourself or another client?
I've not been actually doing it for too long. So I've only been tattooing now since October. I worked in the studio before, but then I was an IT manager for like 8 years ish, and I just thought, like, this ain't what I'm meant to be doing with my life. I want to do something that I'm good at and that I enjoy. So I've been doing it for a few months. I've done my alternative inverts one on my leg.
Ugh. Let's see. Ooh, how hard is that to tattoo? You must be flexible. How hard is that to tattoo your own leg?
It's really hard.
Do you have to take a lot of breaks because you're like, oh, okay, I'm contorting my body, and
my leg just goes numb. I've done another one as well, like a switchblade sort of. Well, it's like one of the old school traditional razors, and that wraps around this side of my leg. So trying to like get a straight line was really, really awkward.
Wow. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I've done a few other ones. I like traditional, but I like new school cartoon style stuff. So I've got a picture. Show that.
Is Jane as tatted out as you are?
It's Rachel. Rachel's the wife. Yeah, I've done one with Rachel. I've done a zombie cupcake.
Oh, that is so cute.
I've started like a leg sleeve for her.
Very nice.
I can't find the other video. I've started like another one with like a big bunny and a ice cream style thing. There it is. That's the outline of it.
Ooh.
Actually.
Wow. I'm sorry, Rachel. I thought your name was Rachel, and then I saw a picture of Kieran and Jane with the puppy, it looked like. So I was like, oh, maybe I was confused. Let's see.
So that's just the outline at the moment.
Oh, wow. So is that a character from something? That looks familiar.
Yeah, so the one character, it's just like a new school. They call them snack twos. So it's like people who do like, you could take like a Mars bar and you could put like a sort of cartoony style face on it. And you can have like ice creams, cupcakes and stuff. So I'm going to do like a full leg sleeve of that for her. The bear isn't. I've just got to add loads of colour into it and stuff. But yeah, I just love doing all stuff like that. Like quite anything cartoony or traditional. I like the good old traditional tattoos as well. Solid, thick outlines.
Very nice. Yeah. And do you have like a tattooist that you really admire? Someone you know, or someone like on TV or on Instagram or something?
There's a few. There's the one who used to do that Inverts from, I think he might be from Texas actually, Oliver Peck. He does a lot of like your traditional style tattoos. He's pretty much like the godfather of traditional type thing. He's really, really good. He's awesome. The guy who I go to get tattooed from, that's the person who I now work with in his studio. I've got a lot of respect for him for putting a lot of time into me and stuff. He'd been trying to get me to work with him in the tattoo studio for about 5 years, but I could, because I had a paying job, I could never afford that transition.
Right.
But he kept on, and eventually I did make the jump. So I've got a lot of respect for him as well. As well as
awesome.
There's loads of artists out there. Yeah.
So how do you have a plan for your body? Like some people are like, oh, I'm going to do this on this arm and I want to get everything tattooed except for my face. I mean, do you have a specific plan in mind?
Not really. This left leg is pretty much just a leg of randomness. I've just got all sorts of random stuff on this leg, and I'll probably just keep putting more stuff on there myself. This arm, I've designed all of these ones myself, and then got my tattooist to tattoo them for me. So that's my graffiti art. So I've done all like my graffiti tag and a few bits up my arm, and a woman character. So that's going to be sleeve of graffiti. This one I'm having lasered and having all like hip hop artists like Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg portraits all down that arm. But then I want to go like full Chicano on my chest and stomach and stuff. I love Chicano art, so yeah, I will be covered eventually. I'm gonna have a big traditional rose on my neck, a killer bee on this side, and I'm gonna have something on my head. I ain't decided what yet though. The side of my head coming round just to the front of my face, but that's another story. I could talk about tattoos for hours.
Very interesting. Well, I've held you hostage. Well, between you and Billy Bob, who was also amazing, by the way, I've held you hostage for nearly 2 hours. So, is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we call it a day?
I don't think so. I'd like to say thank you for obviously asking me to come on and taking the time to have a chat with me and stuff, and to everyone watching as well. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you to everyone watching. Thank you for coming on. You were absolutely incredible. And I just absolutely love what you're doing. So thank you. And Rachel, I'm so sorry about the name thing, for in the new baby Kilo for loaning you to me for 2 hours of your evening.
No problem, anytime. And you're always welcome as well on the TTSNT.
Well, I'm very excited about Fatal Fangs 3.
I was going to say, I hope you're going to enter for Fatal Fangs 3 as well.
Yes, definitely.
So yeah, I think Amy's got a video coming out soon where she'll be doing a post on the Fatal Fangs 3 group as well during a live stream.
Yes. We were watching a thing today about she was telling us that we need to send her a picture of the side profile for the face off, and then the rules are coming out soon, so we're already getting ready. And the judges, I'm excited about the judges.
Yeah,
so it's going to be Richard and Kelly,
and then Rob from IBNS
yes,
Arachnids.
I wasn't sure. He sent me stuff. Is it IBNS or is it
I always say IBNS, but I think on his video he said Ibn. Did he say Ibn? Pronounced it Ibn's Arachnids?
Ibns.
I always say IBNS, but yeah.
Anyway, he's a really cool guy. Yeah. So yeah, I can't wait. I want to win, so I'm gonna do my best, and hopefully the judges think I'm cool and they like my footage. We'll see.
Awesome. Well, good luck. I'm sure we'll speak to you before then, but if not, good luck.
Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone. Oh, Pet Rock and Roll is saying IBNS or Ibns. So thank you, Amy. Thank you. All right, everyone. I love you guys, all you viewers out there. And of course, Kieran, and big thanks to Billy Bob. Wow. I mean, it was a lesson in Appalachian culture and very catching all in one. So, yeah. So we're going to link Kieran's channel in the description box, as well as Jaden's video that just came out. Mr. Grindlers Creatures says that Billy Bob was awesome. So I'm sure you're gonna hear a commotion about that. People are gonna be messaging you, asking you about Billy Bob some more. So thank you, everybody that was on today. All of you guys. Mwah! Love you guys. Thank you, Kieran and Rachel. And we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys. Bye-bye.